All right. So my name is Dalan Kirkwood here at WeGotComs.com, and I have Carlos on the line with us as well. And we are doing an episode of Seent It. And today we have decided that
First inaugural episode.
we call this the first inaugural episode. We have decided that we are going to make this a special because normally we're only going to do like one thing at a time. But in this case, we're going to start off by talking about the movie Dune.
You're going to give people a double feature, Dalan?
I'm going to give people a double feature.
Okay.
Hey, the little sneak peeks, little double features. Don't worry. We have surprises. But to start with Dune, we had both seen this. I think we saw it a couple of weeks ago in this case now. And what we're going to talk about is how we feel about the movie and the way that it's rolled out. So the first question I'm going to ask you, Carlos, is what did you think about the visuals for this 2021 Dune?
Question and answers here, huh? Mm-hmm. Now, I got to be honest with you, Dalan. I don't watch this stuff with, like, these are the graphics, this is the story, this is the sound.
But you know you remember it, though.
So I kind of, we'll see what kind of direction. I'm hoping you could kind of tie it up, give it a nice bow at the end. But visually, I mean, it's pretty good. It's pretty nice, man. It's definitely one of those films where it's very appealing looking, especially like the planes that they're actually made out of like mosquitoes or mosquito forming or whatever, which I heard when they were making the movie, those are like tons and tons of, like, they had to get it out into the desert, into, I don't know if it was in the Jordan, I think it was the Jordan desert.
Yep.
And they actually had to get cranes. And they actually had it fly for like 10 seconds. Like,
wait,
so in the
like
whole
a
movie,
real one? You're talking about a real one.
Well, yeah, like a model one. Like,
okay.
I mean, they used the crane and whatever to kind of make it hover, but they were like, we actually were able to make it fly for like 10 seconds. So
we got it off the ground.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool imagery to it, and these are the kind of movies right up my alley. I don't like the campy stuff as much, like Star Wars specifically, even though
now in that sense, are you talking about story for it?
No, we're talking visuals. Like,
you're just talking about campy visuals for it. Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, dude, come on. You got a green lightsaber. You got a blue lightsaber. You got all kinds of, like, goofy graphics happening or whatever. So I even like the visuals of how they use, like, the shield was kind of cool. Was, like, very, like...
Oh, man, that shield tripped me out the way that it was looking. It was hurting my eyes, as a matter of fact.
But it's cool. See, that's the thing. I think we're different in that sense. Like, this one is more of the Blade Runner school of thinking, where it's like, okay, it's a little more subdued, it's a little dark, it's a little kind of muted colors.
It very much reminded me of Chronicles of Riddick in that way.
yeah. So I did quite enjoy the visuals of it. It's very sandy, very dark, but I definitely enjoyed the visuals in it, man. And it was great that I got to see it in IMAX. So that's kind of like, it might be a little too late if people are trying to watch it in IMAX now. It's been out for a couple months, but that was a pretty damn great experience.
Now, I will say I did not watch it in IMAX. I watched it in Cine 1, or whatever they call it, at Harkins Theater. But it was a nice, big, and cushy theater. And just seeing the visuals, I thought it was a beautiful movie myself. But I think I understand what you mean by your campiness in the movie, because there would be those wide shots, and they just sit and linger on them for quite some time. And
yeah. No, I mean, I'm talking campy. I don't know. I guess maybe it's the wrong word.
Okay.
Colorful, the colorfulness of like a Star Wars or whatever. They're very colorful, very Disneyfied, type.
Well, I think that's what they were aiming for when they actually mentioned that they were going to try and make other movies out of this, because they wanted it to be a new Lord of the Rings trilogy or a new Star Wars trilogy. They wanted this to be the next thing. So hopefully we don't have a bunch of other movies that come out trying to do phases like this.
Well, no, I mean, I don't think. I think so. It was the director's Denis Villeneuve or something. It's French, Dalan. He's talked about how he actually wanted it to be a two-parter, but I don't know about you, man, but I thought we were gonna get the full experience, because the original, like, 1980 one that they made when they first tried to make a movie out of this book, which is kind of, I haven't seen it. I still want to go back and watch it, but I think it was a fully, like, you get the whole story of the book. However it is, people didn't like it. A lot of people didn't like it, but. So I thought, it was like, we're going to watch this movie. It's going to be a nice little epic 3-hour movie or whatever. And as soon as you see the Dune come up, it says part 1. I was like, oh.
Immediately setting you up for the next one.
But it's kind of, there's some trickery there though, because they didn't say that's what it was gonna be, right? They didn't say it was like a part 1.
Yeah, they did not mention that at all. I thought the whole thing was going to be in one movie. Yeah. So we'll jump to the next subject in this case, being story wise. That definitely threw me off, was the fact that they were going to do it in that fashion. However, I was actually just recently talking to my roommate Jeremiah, who had seen the original movie. He said that there were 3 Dune movies. And it was actually broken into 3 parts. And I was like, wait, what? I didn't even know about this. Because I didn't watch the original Dune movies. And for anybody who's a Dune fan, I'm not going to touch base on something I don't know nothing about. So I'm going based on word of mouth in this case.
I gotta feel like I gotta look it up. I mean, I don't know Jeremiah that much. I feel like I know you enough to question you on when you're bringing, grabbing things out of your butt. I know to question you. Jeremiah,
he watched the originals, so I'm gonna go based on his statement.
I will not defer to him. I will just say I will cautiously take that into account.
Hey, Carlos, you never know. We might get 3 movies.
And they said it. No, they said it's 2. I mean,
they straight up said it's 2. They're not doing a third one. Okay.
I heard some of the interviews from the director, and actually, they didn't even know if they were going to do the second one. It was really up to how successful this one was. So it wasn't, because I wasn't Lord of the Rings that they kind of made them all in conjunction. Like they made the 1, 2, and 3 kind of filmed around the same time to kind of recycle some of the sets and all that kind of thing. And that's kind of what actually the director said, that he's like, oh, I'm glad we didn't do it that way. That it was like, let's use the same sets and because it would have burned me out. He was basically saying like, okay, I'm glad that, we'll go back and do it again because it's brutal conditions working in the desert, right? Like working in the, look at the film.
Trying to make a story in the desert and trying to have everybody be able to act in the sand.
Well, and you look at the
suits
movie
that don't fit.
You look at the movie and it feels uncomfortable, dude. I think they made a great job as far as that's concerned, right? Like it feels uncomfortable. You feel the sand. You feel like in the Clone Wars, right? It's like sand. I hate sand. It gets everywhere.
Now, I'm going to ask you about this because you made me think about it. How did you feel about the spice aspect of the movie? This whole spice thing.
Cool.
Man, I couldn't even figure out what was spice and what was sand the whole time. They
tell you, Dalan.
No, they tell you what it is, but when I'm looking at the film, I'm like, that all just looks like dust to me. Now I see glittery dust, so I guess that might be spice.
It makes your eyes blue, so it has some kind of magical element or chemical in it it's just whatever, dude. Like oil. Like if I never knew what oil was, you would be looking at it the same way. You'd be like, what the hell?
But I could tell the difference between oil and mud. In this case, I was having a hard time understanding the difference between sand and spice just visually on how it looked.
Oh, okay, maybe. Okay.
Well, it's like I understand the concept of what spice was, because I guess it was their fuel to be able to do star jumping or whatever it is. Space travel.
Time gates or whatever, yeah.
And they were out there farming for this spice, but it's like when they had it on screen and said, all right, that's the spice plant. Look at all that spice. I'm like, it just looks like sand to me.
It's subtle, Dan. That's what I'm trying to tell
you. It's super
subtle.
subtle.
What happens is you need a blue lightsaber on the screen for you to be like, yeah, symbolism. That's what I want. Symbolism. Yeah, I get it. One is blue, one is red. One is bad, one is good.
They didn't do that, and I'm hoping they'll do that later.
Well, speaking of the story, I mean, it's subtle even in that way, right? Like they are talking about like, they're pushing out I don't know the names, I don't know the lore that much, but they're obviously pushing someone else out to bring someone else in.
You're talking about the houses.
Yeah, the different houses and even like the people that are there in this planet, right? They're even like, okay, well, who's next? Because that just means someone else is going to try to dominate the spice, and the spice must flow. The spice must flow, so...
Deal with the enemy you know.
Yeah.
So that actually being the case, did you feel that the movie itself kept you captivated and actually wanted to make you watch the whole movie? Because I know you like to talk about how Marvel movies be putting you to sleep. And
this movie did not put me to sleep at all. Like that's how good it was. Well, because it feels like there's stakes, right? Like it feels like there's actual legitimate stakes to the movie. There are people that are dying that you just found out, like, oh shit, I kind of like that character.
I like that character. Now I'm mad that they're gone. I was waiting to see how they were going to be able to do some cool stuff with them later on, and they're gone now.
So there are some true like stakes. I think what puts me to sleep, I've mentioned it before, well, not on here, right? But the Marvel movies, what happens is there's no stakes to them, right? Like I'm like, they're all gonna survive. They're just kind of they're like mashing action figures together. No one
dies in a Marvel movie.
Yeah, they're mashing, and I think the only one I didn't fall asleep was probably when the culmination, right, with Endgame and all that stuff. Because like, oh, people are actually dying. Like
no, you talked about how you would fall asleep during those big massive battles, and I'm pretty sure Dune had at least one big massive battle at some point. Were you looking at? Oh, you were very much involved in that,
dude. It's not like any big battle I fall asleep at. It's really if there's no stakes. If there's no stakes, like my brain wants to shut off. Basically, it's like saying like, this is dumb. Like, why are they even fighting? They're all gonna make it out alive at the end. So
I feel like you enjoy this movie more than Marvel movies at this point.
Oh, definitely, dude, definitely. I mean, it reminds me of something like those little more subtle sci-fi. Kind of down to earth type of thing. I mean, yeah, of course it's fantastical, right? But it's a little more grounded, you know, than all the other movies and stuff. So I dig it. That's why I like Blade Runner. I like Blade Runner's subtlety in a lot of cases, and there's a lot to chew on in this movie, if you will. There's a lot to chew on.
Well, even though it feels like an unfinished film, and of course by design, I'm still very happy with the way that it actually rolled out, and I'm ready to actually watch the next movie. And in this particular case, are you going to watch the next one when it comes out?
Yeah, man. I mean, no. They said it was. They said that it's greenlit. We just needed to make sure it was a success. And
so did the Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, but that's not a greenlit situation, dude.
Hey, they started it off with book 1, all right?
Yeah, but that's not a greenlit situation. This guy's serious, dude. I don't think he wants to be making Dune for the next 35 years or whatever. The director, Villeneuve, he's French. He's French. He's been trying to watch this, make this film like a recreation of Dune for like the last 30, 40 years. So he's like ready. He knows what needs to happen. James Cameron is over there doing fucking underwater expeditions, so he can't make a film. Like that's what's happening with the Avatar movies, is the fact that he just can't seem to focus or put together because he has all the money. He has all the money to make them. So.
Hey, this movie was beautiful. It was focused. It had a good story that actually kept you captivated. And for me, and I would tell any audience that's listening to our show, go watch this movie. I mean, Carlos, do you agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah, go watch it. Go watch it. I mean, if you didn't see it on the big screen, it's a sort of a shame because a lot of the set pieces, and I know some of the quotes that were coming out from the director was also like, oh, you need to watch it on the big screen because if you watch it on the small screen, it's like you're watching a speedboat in a bathtub or whatever. And it's like, okay, he's wilding out, but it's true.
Speedboat in a bathtub.
Yeah. But he's wilding out. But it's true, man. Some of these, you saw it. Even if you didn't see it at IMAX, you could appreciate the
very
majesty, the large scaleness of it. Especially the sandworms, dude. Like it's just kind of incredible. And I did watch a little bit on my TV, and it still looks pretty great.
Yeah, I was gonna say
these TVs are nice, man. But
if you have to watch it at home, at least watch it on a big screen with good sound in the dark. Maybe grab some popcorn. Because anybody's in for a ride.
So this is your show, Dalan. But do we ever talk spoilers? Because I feel like we have to. We should be able to. I mean, or maybe that's for another.
We'll do that for another episode.
When it's not a double feature, because we're doing a double feature.
Exactly. Right? So in this particular case, consensus, yes, people need to watch the movie because that's basically what the show is. We've seen it, and we advise that other people see it. Now, in this case, I believe me and you had a bit of a two-edged sword in this case. Like I'm on one end and you're on the other. I'm probably the worst analogy in this particular case. But the next movie that we were going to talk about is Resident Evil. Welcome to Raccoon City.
Resident Evil.
Oh man,
I'm a member
you
of
just go to the
Stars.
video game.
I'm a member of Stars.
Now, obviously, Resident Evil, this particular movie is a reboot here in 2021 based on the video game directly rather than based on the previous whatever Mila Jovovich movies that came out were not really based on the comic books or anything. But I guess they tried to do their own iteration of it. Now, how did you feel about the movie just in general?
Well, how did I feel about it is my official review at WeGotComs.com.
Yes.
So you guys could check that out. That's actually one of the last articles that I think got like 100 views or something like that. Which is not too much. I understand it's not a great amount, but for us, for our little tiny website, that's kind of one of the bigger quote unquote hits. I think mainly because I got it up like early. Before any other reviews were up. But so I did give it 3.5 stars.
Out of how many?
Out of 5. So
okay.
I feel like it wasn't definitely, it was not a 4, not a 5. But you know what? I actually think I dug it, but I think I give these kind of movies maybe more benefit of the doubt. And I usually don't like movies that are like, they keep poking and prodding at you, where it's like, oh, remember this? Because this movie does that a lot, right? Like, remember this? But I'm like...
They try to reference old things in the games, but the question I have for you is, did you actually play 1, 2, and 3 for Resident Evil?
Yeah, I did. I mean, the remake versions. I
didn't I'm talking about the originals. Did you play the originals?
I played enough of the originals that I remember, like, all the scenes that are thrown about in the movie. Like the zombie looking back when you first see him.
Yeah.
The Licker's introduction.
I think the zombie looking back was actually the director's cut cover. So that was actually an awesome thing.
So there's definitely a lot of references. And so I gave this movie a little bit more of a
credit than
it
deserved.
Yeah.
Very much so.
They're obviously trying to put 3 movies in one, right? And it's like in 90 minutes, which I like that they respect my time that way. And as I put in my review, it's like, I think one of the higher marks you could give this is like at the end of it, I went with my wife to watch it, and she was like, I didn't even know that was based in a video game if you hadn't told me. So I feel like it did something okay. It reached
so
a minimum bar, I suppose. A minimum bar.
All right, so in that respect, I will give you the salient point there. I'm going to call it the salient point. Being that for these Resident Evil films, they did roll it out in a way where you don't need to play the games to really actually enjoy the movie as it is. But we're gonna first. I'm gonna just talk story wise based on those video games. Is that you keep saying all 3 games mashed into one? They did not touch base on the 3rd game at all.
Oh, they touched in within a minute.
No, they didn't.
Yes. The guy turns into the Nemesis guy and is like, we're gonna have a little scrum or a little scrimmage, and we're gonna blast them away within a minute. I'm not saying that they recreated 3, Dalan. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that they gave you 3 within like a 2-minute span. Like in a 2-minute span, like this is 3. This is somebody that was gonna hunt them. But we're not, and they even said as much. Like after the post interviews with the director, he was even saying, it's like, yeah, I don't know if we can make 3. So they're not even thinking of making 3, but they're thinking about making 4 and 5, punching some boulders and some lava. But they already know. They proved my point where they said we are not gonna make 3. They said let's give them a 2-3 minute thing.
And they also shuffled a lot of the story around, and then there was even the police station, which was a big staple of Resident Evil 2, and they did very little with that, and they even returned to it in Resident Evil 3, talking about the video game, but in the movie, they're there for like 5 minutes. You don't really know the layout. They made the whole main hall grand as all hell, but the rest of it, you're like, I don't know anything else about this police station except
they had, I think that one got the most out of everything, because one didn't get that much time either. The mansion scenes weren't that long. I think 2 got the most, like the iconic police station, the underground, right, where the car is stuck like in the garage. Yeah, and then the helicopter crashing through. So I think 2 I highly disagree, Dalan. I feel like 2 is the most focused on in the whole movie.
Oh, no. I'm not saying that 2 wasn't focused on in there. I'm saying that the police station was not as big of a part of the movie as I expected it to be. Especially
But I'm saying it's like the biggest
as,
part out of all three games. That's what I'm telling you.
That is very true. They did have a lot of focus on the mansion and the police station, but then they put a lot more focus on the orphanage as well, which was weird to me. And they moved the liquor to a whole new place, and the liquor was in the trailer if you didn't know about it.
So 2 featured the orphanage, right? Or what? Or no?
The remake of 2 featured the orphanage.
Gotcha.
And the original game of Part 2, there was a moment where you had to go to the orphanage, but it wasn't as extensive as it
which
was
I
in the
think
remake.
in the movie, like that orphanage, those sections, those scenes, I think they focused a lot on that because that was actually like legitimately like, oh, that's where it's actually kind of scary. It's a little spooky that they're going through an orphanage. And I even said it on the review that I put up, wegoutcoms.com, is that they had a keen understanding of like, you know what, this orphanage crap, a little creepy. Let's kind of play that up. Let's play that up, right? Like I said, this is not a perfect movie, Dalan. I'm just saying.
Oh
it's like
man, I felt like there was so much like
within a 90-minute
span.
Within a 90-minute span, it was fine. That's kind of 3.5 stars. I'm thinking like maybe I gotta recalibrate because I do game reviews, right? So I don't, maybe I would do 3. Maybe I would do 3. It's 3.5 now, but I would have to, if we review more movies, I think I have to recalibrate the way I kind of go about it. But I think it was all right. But you were upset, I guess.
I was very upset. Right, no, it's fine. I was very upset about how they went about telling these story pieces and where they actually placed these things at and where their focus was in the movie. When you talk about scenarios and their environments that they're in. So some of those environments I wished were there more. Some of the environments I'm like, why did they even put it in there at all? They had that one weird girl character that showed half her face. That was a freaky little thing that I don't remember that character in any of the games. I don't care.
Well, they had a little wrinkle, and honestly, those are some of the standout things to me. And the fact that they did like the racial swaps, right? Like I'm a member of Stars, Jill Valentine. She wasn't black in the games, right? So I kind of like that kind of stuff. So to me, I think you get hung up on it is your opinion. It's subjective, right?
Yes.
But like you just earlier said, like the liquor bottle wasn't there. I was like, who cares? Who fucking cares where the liquor bottle is? It's a movie. It's fine.
The liquor bottle is the liquor, just a liquor.
So,
it's not a
so I feel like they were trying to be as faithful, and it's as faithful as any of the movies have been to the games, and they tweaked it a little bit, and they added a new character. And like I said, that's not to say it's a great movie. I'm just saying it's fine, I guess.
I will say, compared to the Mila Jovovich series, even though I love Mila Jovovich and all of her acting chops, I still think that this movie was better than the other series. So if I had to pick one series over this versus this movie, I'd be like, yeah, watch this movie. It's definitely better than that.
There's a whole bunch of little nods, dude. Even like the scene where the guy shooting in the dark, right? Maybe you can help me.
Oh,
I
no,
know
that was a
Brazil.
Beautiful moment in the movie.
But,
that was probably my favorite
and where
moment.
is it from? From 1 or 2?
That was
from
from 1. That was from Resident Evil 1 when they first really figure out about all the zombies, and you are suddenly surrounded by a bunch of zombies, and you're running through the mansion trying not to die and finding a place to stay.
And you're shooting through the dark, right? Like
you're
shooting through the dark. Yeah.
So they really made you feel it in that moment, and I'm like, why can't the whole movie be like this?
Yeah.
That said, again, they did certain aspects of the movie really, really good, and other parts really, really bad. That whole chopper crash was cheesy to me. People should be dead. People should be dead the way that they rolled that thing out.
It was fine.
At this point, I'm going to jump into visuals for it.
To just real quick, just to kind of give you an answer to like, why isn't the whole movie like that? It's like, dude, it's because they bit off more than they could chew. I mean, they're really trying to fit 3 games into one movie. Like you keep disagreeing, and that's fine. But I honestly think that was our Resident Evil 3, that 2-3 minute sequence. They made it. But other than that, it's like they bit off more than they could chew, and they try to get as many iconic scenes as possible. And I was thinking, it's like, damn, what more? It's like, oh yeah, that. And then they had like a Resident Evil 2 where they got into the train. I was like, damn, this is like 40 minutes into the movie, and we're on the train, and we're blowing this guy up already with rockets and all.
Yeah, that was the thing that you could actually say, all right, I saw that coming. I kind of felt that. I kind of saw that coming. But me and Jeremiah, who went to go see it with me, we watched the ending of this, and this is a spoiler alert. They didn't nuke the town. In the original games, they definitely
there's a little wrinkle, right? So that's a little wrinkle, right, to the story.
It was like, well, how are you going to actually explain this away? You know they're not going to get all the evidence with the way that place was destroyed, and it was just like a cratering in. So I don't know how you felt about that being the way that it rolled out, because I know again you played the remakes at the very least.
Yeah, I liked it, man. I mean, they gotta veer off in their own direction, and to be honest, like. I know you said like it's better than the other series with Mila Jovovich and all that, which is fine. Which is fine to say. And it's fun to say. But I think they can only go down from here, man. Like the next movie needs to be like it basically needs to be Resident Evil 4 and just focus on that before it further goes downhill, right?
What we
into
need,
5 and 6.
What we need, which unfortunately they took out and we talked about it, was we need Chris punching a boulder. That's what we need.
I honestly think like if this movie is successful enough and they do make another one, which they kind of already like, we're willing to make 10 movies, right? They're willing to, the director and the actors and all that stuff. But I honestly, I'm assuming that the next thing would be like a mix of Code Veronica and 4 maybe or something, right? Before they completely like go to whatever 5 was and whatever 6 was.
I don't know how they're going to mix Code Veronica with 4 considering the placement of the prison island or whatever it is versus Las Plagas on like a Hispanic continent somewhere. So
it's Spain, but that,
whatever. Hey, it's Hispanic. But the fact
racial, actually, but no time for a history lesson. Continue.
Okay, but I still think that they could really place it in just a singular game in one of the next ones. I mean, I don't think they would have a reason to focus on Code Veronica X, but that might be the next best step for them.
Yeah. However, I mean, they did say that's what they would like to do. On Code Veronica, they did say that.
I feel like in order to do Code Veronica, they're gonna have to fix some relationship problems that they made because they made Leon a wuss right off the bat. Claire was a badass to begin with, which normally was not the case, and Claire actually found Chris, which I don't believe happened in the original games at all. It took a while for them to actually get back together again. The fact that they even had the whole Wesker subplot going on, I'm glad that they were actually able to keep that in. And obviously, there's that little surprise with Ada at the end. I'm not going to actually mention what it is specifically, but
I mean, you mentioned the fact that she's there, Dalan. I feel like you weren't trying to spoil nothing. It's spoiled.
And I'm not going to over spoil it. There's minor spoiler in that case.
We got to figure out these spoilers, dude. How we're going to put them on the show because it's wild.
Hey,
they're all over.
We're going to put it right at the beginning. Spoiler alert. We might spoil some shit for you.
That's not it though. Like they're listening. They're like, wait, what? Okay, he just put Ada's in it. So I mean, I think, it's weird, right? Like they basically said, let's throw it all in. We don't know if we make another movie, so let's just throw as much crap as we can and fit it into a tight like 90 minute plus film, right? So it is a little weird, but I enjoyed it. I mean, like I said, it's not like movie of the year. It's not gonna win an Oscar. It's not gonna do nothing like that. But if you're a fan of the games, you'll definitely get a kick out of it. And if you're not, there's little bits and pieces there that kind of will string you along, and you'll be, I think, entertained enough.
And briefly, I'm going to touch on it, the visual aspect of the movie itself, being that when I saw the trailers, I thought this was going to be a really cheesy movie. I thought the graphics were going to look terrible. I thought stupid things were going to happen, like really horrible CGI fake blood flying across the screen. That was super noticeable. But that didn't happen. I feel like they ended up fixing a lot of it post-production or something like that. And it actually ended up looking really good, with the exception of the plot holes that were in there.
I look real quick because I know you're trying to move us along here, Dalan, but which I appreciate, and I'm waiting on this one. The only thing I will say real quick on the visuals is, yes, it looked pretty good for the most part, as long as you're focused on the main like creepy people and the main characters. But if you look at the like side zombies or the extra zombies, they looked a little plasticky, a little Xbox 360 era plasticky zombies.
Hey man, they had their budget.
Where we've talked off record, right? But I was thinking, I think we talked about it. Maybe I told someone else, but I was like, The Walking Dead definitely spoils us on like how good those zombies look, because some of these they don't, you could make an argument that some of them are not that great in The Walking Dead too, but I think for the most part the zombie design is pretty good, right? Like you kind of believe the creepiness of it and all that, whereas some of the scenes in this movie are like, I mean, I understand that's a lot of zombies, but
that mansion scene, they went above and beyond to be able to make those zombies look good, and I was fine with that part. But outside of that, yes, you're definitely right. You look off to the side, you're gonna see some very wonky zombies.
Yeah, they look a little like, come on, man, what are we doing here? Have we not been watching The Walking Dead for the last 70 years? However long that show's been on.
All right, but to actually cap this one off then, Carlos, would you really advise people to go watch Resident Evil in theaters if they have the chance?
I'm kind of locked in, dude. I gave this thing a 3.5 stars, so that means a yes.
You have reinforced your 3.5 stars at this point.
That's a yes for me, dog. That's a yes for me, dog. No, I more closer to 3, but I still feel like it's not the greatest film, but if you're a fan of the games, and you'll see a bunch of stuff that you like, and if you always wanted to see one that's like faithfully basically recreating the games, this is faithfully to an extent, right? Like there's some wrinkles, there's definitely
some wrinkles,
to
and
me,
I'm
welcome.
Blaring noticeably. Hey, for me, it was frustrating to see how many changes they made off of it. And yes, we don't necessarily need a 1-to-1 movie versus game comparison.
Sounds like that's what you want.
I want it to at least be closer than that. But for what budget they had and what they produced, I will give them their points there. However, I feel like I did not need to pay money to go see this movie. I wish I had actually waited for it to actually leave theaters. I'd still say people watch this movie, but you're not gonna miss anything by not seeing it in theaters.
Yeah, it's I watched it for free, I guess. So maybe that kind of gives you. But I've watched stuff for free before, and I have played games for quote unquote for free, right? But so it's I did enjoy it.
I feel that it tells you where I stand in it by saying don't buy tickets but watch it. Maybe rent the DVD or something like that. But watch it. I'm not saying don't watch it. I'm just saying not the best movie out there.
Yeah. I had a couple fun moments in it, but
well, good for you having fun. All right,
sorry that I like to have fun.
You're welcome to it. All right, so that's it for this episode of Seent It. And
are we gonna tease them with the little Cowboy Bebop?
Hey, we could do that in a separate episode, sir. All right, fine. You want to do Cowboy Bebop right now?
Just like what we've seen. How far have you gotten in Cowboy Bebop?
All right.
What have you thought so far? Because we'll further detail it, but just give them a little taste.
All right, so I actually ended up watching the first couple of episodes, so I watched the first 2 episodes, and I'm going to tell you right now, I found it to be cheesy, and even though the story this is one of those 1-to-1 stories where they started ruining very specific aspects of it that made us lose the heart of the original show. So that's really where I'm starting to stand on it.
Okay, see, I think we do gotta leave it for the next episode when you watch some more, because I don't want to spoil it, right? But I started off kind of like that, and I had just recently watched the original anime, the original run of it and the movie and all that stuff, so I already had a feel of what these characters are, right? And I think the first couple episodes, and it's not 1-to-1, man. I mean, you can see that in the first couple episodes. It's not exactly 1-to-1. It's pretty close, but it's not 1-to-1. and which I like, especially because this is only 10 episodes. The Netflix
Yeah,
live action version
is
is
true.
only 10 episodes.
They've had to push it into one to a smaller box.
But I did, and they're longer episodes because the anime was like 20 minutes every episode.
24 minutes, and now we got your hour episodes.
Yeah, so these are, so in the sense you do get your 20 episodes, right? You in a sense, right?
Hey man, you get your fun out of it. I could say that.
Yeah, yeah. So you still get plenty of Cowboy Bebop live action and what are the guys? The Spike. See, I don't know the names. I don't know the lore. But
Spike, Jet, and oh man, I forgot the girl's name. Faye. I know her last name is Valentine.
Dalan Faye.
Faye Valentine. There you go.
But yeah, I think we have to wait because I want to get your impressions of it because I started kind of like, do I like these characters? Do they kind of match up with what I see from the anime? But I'm always gonna give these things more benefit of the doubt, though. I understand that. Like, I feel like you want it to be faithfully to, and I don't want that. I wanted to get a feel for it, and that's the important part. If it doesn't have the feel for you, and I think the first couple episodes, you're kind of like, okay, I see what you're doing. I'm not convinced quite yet, but 6-7 episodes in, like I'm on the 7th episode. Like I said, I don't want to give any specific spoilers here until next time, Dalan. Right, next episode.
Until next time, we will watch these things, so you don't have to waste your time trying to see something terrible.
But to me, Dalan, I feel like it makes its case as to if you're gonna like it or not. Honestly, like to me, I kind of like the evolution up into the following episodes. Like, okay, it's its own thing. But I'm gonna find out what you think. I guess.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I will give it a full shot. I'm gonna watch all the episodes. So next week, when we air the next episode of Seent It, we will talk about Cowboy Bebop exclusively.
Okay.
All right. So, again, my name is Dalan Kirkwood. You can find us at WeGotComs.com. And Carlos Macias, our founder and master of arms. So, you got anything you want to say before we go?
Yeah, man. Nice little inaugural episode, Dalan. So, congratulations there. I mean, you did do salient points, but this is like your own idea of how you want to, and I know I probably took over yet again, but I do like this.
You gave more context to how you feel about it, and the fact is that we want to make sure that the audience knows that we saw this movie and how we feel about certain aspects of that movie or TV show, and whether or not they should watch it. That's the whole point of this show.
My favorite thing about this, though, Dalan, is like usually when I'm doing it, I'm kind of focused on like trying to keep it in track, trying to keep the train on the tracks. On this one, since this is your show, I'm drinking myself a little a beer here to, I'm like, I could just relax.
You are going to lose track of whatever we're talking about, like, huh?
It's a Dalan show, so I can relax. I can sit back. I'm usually drinking water or whatever, but this time I'm like, you know what? This is Dalan's show, so I'll sit back and relax. But congratulations, Dalan. So we'll, I'm sure we'll tweak it a little bit, right, and do whatever else in future episodes.
That said, for everybody, go to WeGotComs.com. Go to our YouTube channel. What was it? I want to say click subscribe. I don't remember all the buttons for it. Carlos, you want to give out your Twitter handle again?
I do say clean. ADUCE clean. So you guys can check us out there. And we do have Dale just put up another like Halo Infinite advanced tips, so make sure to check those out. I think people like those, man. I think people like the tips. I like how Dale breaks it down into different points and stuff. So go check that out. That's kind of the stuff we have, and salient points and reasonably hype when those go up.
And now, Seent It. All right, bye everybody.
Latest.